In the high-stakes world of Hollywood franchises, there's a golden rule. The brand is bigger than the actor. We've seen it with James Bond, we've seen it with Batman, we've even seen it with Spider-Man. But there is one glaring, multi-billion-dollar exception that is currently keeping Disney executives awake at night. Captain Jack Sparrow. For over 20 years, this character hasn't just been the face of Pirates of the Caribbean, he's been its soul. But as Disney stands at a crossroads, preparing for the inevitable Pirates 6, they're facing a terrifying reality. They aren't just deciding on a new movie, they're making a character decision that will either save their most lucrative live-action brand or sink it into the depths of cinematic history forever. Welcome back to North America Dispatch. Today we're doing a deep dive into the Sparrow Paradox. Why is it that in an era of reboots and recasts, Disney is finding it impossible to move on from Johnny Depp? To understand the future, we have to look at the beginning. In 2003, when The Curse of the Black Pearl was in development, the suits at Disney were horrified at what they saw in the dailies. They saw a pirate who staggered like he was on a permanent bender, who slurred his words, and who seemed, well, eccentric was the polite word. They wanted a traditional swashbuckler. Johnny Depp gave them a rock star. He famously told them, "You can fire me, but you have to pay me." He stood his ground, and in doing so, he created a character that transcended the script. This is the first half of the paradox. Jack Sparrow wasn't written to be the heart of the franchise. He was meant to be the sidekick, but the audience chose him. And once the audience chooses a character with that much intensity, the brand no longer belongs to the studio. It belongs to the fans. As we look at the current state of Pirates 6, Disney is trying to solve a math problem that doesn't have a solution. They want the $4.5 billion revenue, but they're hesitant to bring back the man who generated it. If they choose to reboot with a new lead, be it Marby Robbie or a younger Jack, they aren't just changing an actor, they're asking the audience to forget the last 2 decades of emotional investment. In the world of entertainment, that's not just a risk, it's a gamble with a 100% chance of failure. If the first part of this story was about the character, the second part is about the system. For a century, Hollywood has operated on a simple premise. The studio is the king. They own the IP, they own the distribution, and for a long time, they believed they owned the talent. When Disney initially distanced themselves from Johnny Depp, they were following an old-school corporate playbook. It's a playbook designed to mitigate risk and protect the family-friendly image. But as North America Dispatch viewers know, this backfired spectacularly. Why? Because while Disney was playing by the rules of the 1990s, the world had moved on to the Depp Doctrine. The Depp Doctrine is simple. Creative independence is the ultimate leverage. Since leaving the traditional studio system, we haven't seen Johnny Depp disappear. Instead, we've seen him lean into his own brand, from his record-breaking art sales to his sold-out musical tours and his boutique rum ventures. He has proven that he doesn't need the Black Pearl to stay afloat. This creates a massive problem for the Hollywood gatekeepers. Usually, when a studio drops an actor, the actor loses their power. In this case, it was the studio that lost the power. Every time Johnny succeeds in a non-film venture, Disney's recasting threat becomes less effective. They are no longer the gatekeepers of his career. They are now the ones standing outside his gate, wondering if he'll ever agree to come back. We see this struggle reflected in the constant will they, won't they updates from Jerry Bruckheimer. He knows what the fans know. The audience's loyalty isn't to the Disney logo, it's to the man who gave that logo its most profitable character. The decision to bring back Johnny isn't just about Pirates 6. It's an admission by Disney that the era of studio is king is over. It's a recognition that in the modern age, the star, and more importantly, the community that supports that star, holds the final vote. Your comments on North America Dispatch are filled with a specific sentiment that Hollywood is jealous of Johnny's resilience. This isn't just fan talk, it's an observation of a shifting industry. Disney is terrified because if they cave and bring him back on his terms, they are setting a precedent. They are admitting that the actor as partner model is the only way forward for massive franchises. So, let's imagine the phone rings. Disney finally realizes that a pirates movie without Jack Sparrow is like a ship without a rudder, destined to spin in circles until it sinks. But here's the catch. The Johnny Depp they would be calling in 2026 isn't the same Johnny Depp they worked with in 2017. This is where the save scenario becomes truly fascinating. To save the franchise, Disney can't just offer a massive paycheck. We've seen that movie before. To get Johnny back on deck, they would have to offer something much more valuable to him now: creative autonomy. Your comments on North America Dispatch often touch on a key theme, that Johnny's best work comes when he's allowed to be himself. In a potential Pirates 6, the save scenario involves Johnny moving from just an actor to a key creative architect. Think about it. Imagine a Pirates film that leans into the weird, the supernatural, and the artistic, elements that Johnny has been exploring in his paintings. This wouldn't just be a sequel, it would be a reinvention. The fans aren't just looking for a repeat of the greatest hits. They want to see the character evolve. They want to see the captain as a mentor, or perhaps facing a threat that requires more than just luck and a bottle of rum. If Disney agrees to this partner model, they don't just save the movie, they save their reputation. By giving Johnny creative input, they signal to the world that they value the artist over the algorithm. This is the only path that leads to a standing ovation at the box office. But here's the reality. This scenario requires Disney to swallow their pride. It requires them to admit that the corporate formula failed and the artist's vision won. And as we know, in Hollywood, pride is often the hardest thing to sink. Hollywood has a memory problem. They often mistake intellectual property for character. They think if they own the name on the poster, they own the magic that made people buy the ticket in the first place. But as we've seen in the last few years, that arrogance has led to the downfall of some cinema's most untouchable titans. Look at Indiana Jones, look at Star Wars, look at the Terminator. Each of these franchises tried to pass the torch or modernize the formula by sidelining the very heart of the story. The results? Diminishing returns, fractured fan bases, and a loss of cultural relevance. Now apply that to Pirates. This isn't just a movie franchise, it's a character-driven phenomenon. When Disney talks about a reboot or a female-led spin-off without Johnny Depp, they aren't just changing the cast, they're trying to build a ship out of thin air. One of your comments put it perfectly. They don't realize that we don't watch for the ships or the ghosts, we watch for the captain. If Disney moves forward with a Pirates 6 that doesn't feature Jack Sparrow, they're essentially creating a zombie franchise. It might have the name, it might have the music, but it will be hollow. This is the sink scenario. Without the authentic core that Johnny Depp provides, the film becomes a generic action movie lost in a sea of CGI. The financial risk is astronomical. Dead Men Tell No Stares already showed signs of fatigue, yet it still cleared nearly $700 million. Why? Because the audience wanted one more ride with Jack. Remove him, and you're not just losing a star, you're losing the multi-generational brand loyalty that keeps this franchise afloat. The ghost of franchises past is haunting the halls of Disney. They see the failures of their peers, yet the gatekeepers we discussed in Part 2 are still hesitant to admit they made a mistake. They're caught between the fear of a box office disaster and the pride of not wanting to cave to fan demand. So we arrive at the final verdict. We've looked at the industry politics, the failed reboots of other franchises, and the undeniable power of creative independence. The question Disney is asking is, can we survive without Jack Sparrow? But the question they should be asking is, why would we even try? The decision Disney makes regarding Pirates 6 is more than just a casting call. It's a statement about the future of entertainment. If they choose the sink scenario, moving forward with a hollow reboot, they're doubling down on a broken system that values the brand over the artist. But if they choose the save scenario, they're not just bringing back an actor. They're embracing a new era where the audience's voice actually matters. Your comments on North America Dispatch have been consistent. No Johnny, no Pirates. This isn't just a slogan, it's a market reality. In an age of endless streaming and content fatigue, the only thing that breaks through the noise is authenticity. You can't manufacture the charisma that Johnny Depp brought to that role in 2003, and you certainly can't replace it in 2026. Disney has a chance to do something revolutionary. They have a chance to turn a public relations disaster into a creative triumph by inviting Johnny back, not as an employee, but as a partner. They can prove that they've learned from the ghosts of franchises past. The ball is in Disney's court, but the power has already shifted. Whether Johnny Depp ever steps foot on the Black Pearl again, he has already won. He has proven that his creative spirit is unbreakable, a word many of you have used in our community. But I want to hear from you. If Disney announced tomorrow that Johnny Depp was returning with full creative control, would you be back in that theater on day one? Or has the gatekeeper era already done too much damage? Let's keep the conversation going in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the shifting tides of Hollywood. This is North America Dispatch signing off.